I'm going to start the quarterback. So, now let's also try to be realistic about this, guys. I don't think Tua is going anywhere. I think him, at the very least, him, Chris Greer, and Mike McDaniel are all kind of married at this point, and it's still death do them part. So let's go into this with the understanding, if you guys are amenable to this, let's go into this with the understanding that Tua is going to be our starting quarterback in 2025, opening day. How do we want the quarterback room to shake out past Tua? Taylor, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I would say we have Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson. Thankfully, Skylar Thompson is now a Pittsburgh Steeler, so we don't have to worry about that. And we don't have to worry about the entire offseason. So +1 to all of us here and all Dolphin fans everywhere. I would say bring Huntley back as a QB3. And honestly, for that QB2 job, I would want to find more of a physical skill set for a quarterback. That way, the QB2 and QB3 are there more so they can run a simplified version of the offense that when pressed, and absolutely they have to, they can make a play or two. That way we're also not trying to find a backup who is, as much as I like Tua, I'm a huge fan of Tua and his accuracy and all that, and I say that because, well, he is physically limited in terms of arm strength. I'd much rather find a backup who isn't exactly like that. So that's what I would do with the QB position.
Do you have any suggestions for who you'd like?
Not at this time.
And I do have the full list. I mean, I have a list of every single upcoming free agent, and it's sorted by position. So if you guys just want me to rattle off some names so we can talk about them, I'm happy to.
I got some.
Okay. So I won't say anything.
I would say, off the top of my head, the first name I thought of was Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think Jameis Winston's a guy that you can certainly win with. And with Jameis Winston, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna Jameis out sometimes.
No, 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions. That's all you're getting.
And you don't know which one you're gonna get.
Yep.
But I don't hate that move. But I'm actually going to differ with Taylor a little bit here. I want the Dolphins to bring in a guy who kind of matches to his skill set, because I think this offense is designed around a guy who does what Tua does.
I know who you're going after. Who do you what's your name?
What's my name?
Yeah. Well, I know your name, but like, what's your player's name?
That's Keith. Do you not know Keith?
I don't. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, we just met tonight. My name is actually a veteran who has been through all the battles, has all the battle scars. I want Andy Dalton.
Oh, that's my name. Nice.
Is it?
Good pick. That's a really good pick.
I want Andy Dalton. That's who I want the Dolphins to bring in as their QB2. I think he's going to be, for one thing, he's going to be a good mentor to Tua. And I know Tua doesn't necessarily need a mentor because he's been in the league a while, but he'll be a good mentor behind Tua. He's a consummate professional. And he goes in there and he can do some things, whereas the Dolphins' backup quarterbacks this year could not. Anthony, I'm going to throw this to you. Who do you have any names in mind? Who do you see the Dolphins bringing in?
I do want to talk about the Tua thing first for a second, just because I know there's going to be people who tune into this episode and with the exact mindset of, okay, I hope these guys say get rid of Tua. I get it, guys. This guy is not on the field very often. He has only played one full season, and it's an extremely frustrating situation to deal with. But if you look at this list of free agents, like we have looked at this list of free agents, it is hot garbage. You are about to hear a bunch of names of players who we're hoping to be backups, and I don't even feel good about it. I feel dirty saying these names. So, there are no options to replace Tua. I'm sorry if that's what you need to hear. There isn't a good alternative. There isn't a good alternative in this draft. There isn't a good alternative in free agency. And teams don't trade away top-tier quarterbacks. That's not a reality that we live in, just some fantasy that you have in your mind. So I want to get past that for a second. And I will say I am a guy who likes to draft a quarterback every single year. I just agree with that setup. I think that it's worked out really well for the teams who have done it, and the fact that they have had quarterbacks to trade away because of it. So I don't know. I haven't done my deep dive into the draft yet, but I will say that I would like to see a guy 4th round or later, because I think the top 3 rounds you should build up your roster, and then 4 through 7, throw a dart, baby. Let's throw a dart. So if there's a guy in this draft who is the same build as Tua, has pinpoint accuracy, but has a noodle arm, let's get it, baby. Right? Like, you don't need the backup to throw it deep downfield. You need your backup just to be salvageable. To
game manage.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the free agent guys that I'm looking at, I had Andy Dalton. I took him off my list, and my eye went to Cooper Rush down in Dallas.
Wow.
He did some really good things when Dak was out 2 years ago. I think he can at least make you not cry yourself to sleep at night after the game. And I had a bunch of other guys on my list too, but I don't want to like spit through it in case you guys have them too. But I also agree with Taylor. I would be okay with bringing Tyler Huntley back. I think I've come to grips with the reality that it's likely going to be Huntley, as much as I really don't like that fit. But I do think that Cooper Rush has just enough there to be a solid backup. I don't want him starting. If Tua is out for like half the season, we're screwed anyway. So like if he misses his regular 4 games, then I would like to have Cooper Rush there.
Well, I think your first point, Anthony, where you say that Tua is going to be back, whether you want it or not, that's actually important to point out first and foremost, because you're absolutely right. There aren't any guys in the free agent market that are going to be better than Tua, more palatable than Tua. And, there's nobody in the draft, especially where the Dolphins are drafting, that we want to see play over Tua, that we want to see in the Dolphins uniform over Tua. So that's important to point out. Whether we want Tua back or not, he's back. Now, as far as your other point, I don't know about Cooper Rush, and I don't think the Dolphins are going to be satisfied going into this season with Tyler Huntley as the quarterback too. I think they've learned their lesson from last year. I think they saw Tyler Huntley, especially like in games like that Jets game. He couldn't elevate the Dolphins offense. And we need a guy who's going to, if not elevate the Dolphins offense, at least make them look competent.
I wish I could believe you, but these guys thought Skylar Thompson was good. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and that is a point I'm about to make once it gets passed over to me.
I'm about to pass it over to you, Josh. I'm just going to say one more thing. I think the Dolphins brass, Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel, and company, I think they know that their feet are to the fire here. Their seats are getting warm, and they need to learn from their past mistakes. And if you don't learn from your past mistakes, you don't deserve to have a job. So this season, I think they learned the hard way that you need to have a viable backup, especially for a quarterback who's as injury prone as Tua is.
Yeah.
So, Josh, I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, first and foremost through the draft, I think there's one name I've mentioned it on plenty of shows. Spoiler alert, go check some of our past shows if you're interested. But and there was a report that came out that the specific quarterback had a conversation with the Dolphins brass as in regards to being the backup should he be drafted, and that's Jalen Milrose from Alabama. Now I'm not the biggest fan of his. I think, he's got a decent arm, but there are a lot of things to be concerned, but he would be someone, if he's available in the 3rd or 4th, why not take a flyer on him? Right. I mean, not saying that he will be, but he's one of those kind of, let's take a flyer and see if it sticks. Right.
Yeah. It does feel like a draft where you get like 1 or 2 guys in the first round and everybody else is way later.
Yeah. I agree. Unless somebody blows up at the combine, the second quarterback the Patriots got out of Tennessee.
Drake May.
Nope. The other guy.
Joe Milton.
Joe Milton. Right?
No,
not Joe Milton.
He's their current backup.
Yeah. Somebody that I loved in the draft. Right. So I think from a veteran standpoint, I would really, I mean, honestly, I know this is not going to be a popular name, but someone like Justin Fields, I think, would be a perfect backup for this team. He's got the legs. When he has time and in the right offense, you see that he has the tools to be accurate. He has the ability to scramble. Again, everything comes to excuse me. Sorry, fellas. What are the Miami Dolphins going to do with the offensive line? Right now, the one thing we can say, and we can put our hat in, our name in the hat, if you will, is that this Miami Dolphins team, every single offseason for the last 3 years, has identified a weakness and has addressed it and overkilled it. I mean, like slaughtered it. Right. I mean, you think the first year of the regime, it was wide receiver, running back. We signed every wide receiver we could, and we signed every running back we could. And then we whittled it down to our starting unit. Last year it was cornerbacks and safeties and linebackers. We signed a crap ton of them, and then we whittled it down. So I think hopefully with all the comments we've heard, Chris Greer has done enough to make me feel confident they're going to address it. But somebody like Justin Fields, even somebody like Daniel Jones, right? Or Mac Jones. I mean, not popular names by any stretch, but to your guys' point, I mean, we're talking about the bottom of the barrel here in free agency. So,
I am curious, Josh. I mean, I think, I love Fields, and the only reason I didn't make him mine is because I felt like he may go after a starting gig.
Yeah.
And want to put himself in a position to do that, maybe with Pittsburgh. So I'd just love to get your kind of remarks on that.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh's in an interesting position. And I think, with Russell Wilson, I think I don't know what his status is, right, for Pittsburgh, but I can't remember if he's got, he's okay. I wasn't sure if he had one more year left, but, I don't know if Justin Fields, I know he might want to be a starter. And there are some probably amongst the fans that believe he has the potential to be a starter. I just don't know if the regime that is the Pittsburgh Steelers can hang their hat on a starting quarterback that is Justin Fields. You know what I mean? So, I'm not saying they won't. It would be very shocking if, of all the organizations, if Pittsburgh is the one that says, you know what? Yeah, Justin Fields, you're our starter. You're good. You know what I mean?
Well, one thing we do know for sure is that Tua is the only quarterback on our roster right now, so we're going to sign somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And two things real quick. To be clear, when I was talking about Tyler Huntley, I was talking about QB3. I do not want him as QB2. I don't think he showed enough to be the clear-cut QB2. But also, what's also important about what you guys have been talking about, get a quarterback who fits alongside what Tua's skill set is, or get somebody who could just manage a game, or maybe draft somebody late. What's so important about that is this is just us talking about like what we would like to see. We don't really know what McDaniel and Greer are planning for that backup quarterback spot. We can think like, hey, they might want to go more in line, like an Andy Dalton kind of guy, or like we were suggesting here, they could go outside the box and go more like a physical tool set. If Milroe does fall down to the third or fourth round, I don't foresee that happening, but still those kind of physical tool set kind of quarterbacks. So that's an interesting part of this exercise for us to really look at it from how we would really like to see it. But also for the Dolphins, I don't think it's a slam dunk as some fans think that we're going to get some guy who could just run the scheme like Tua, who's a similar player.
It's wide open.
There are very few guys in the NFL who can do what Tua does is the problem. Like Anthony was saying, bringing a guy with pinpoint accuracy. Guys with pinpoint accuracy, generally speaking, are already on NFL rosters.
Well, that's why I said noodle arm, right? They don't draft the noodle arms. They fall.
Yeah. Maybe we can bring Chad Pennington out of retirement.
There you go. I was thinking of Russ, actually. Somebody who just has that thing that makes them fall. Like Russ was too short to play quarterback, right? So he falls to the third round.
Yeah.
Just find that guy who's really good but has that thing that's going to drop him.
Yeah. I know. So I know we want. I think we're all in agreement that we want a better QB2, and I think, whether it's Andy Dalton or Russell Wilson or Daniel Jones or Marcus Mariota, I think there are better options out there for the Dolphins. And going into the season with Tyler Huntley as your QB2 is just a bad move all around. And I think the Dolphins brass will realize that, and they'll move on and bring in somebody who can at least tread water for the Dolphins should Tua go down.